World War I began with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austria-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie, by a man named Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb student, on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, followed by an Austrian declaration of war on Serbia, July 28, and Russian mobilization against Austria-Hungary on July 29. Princip was a member of the Black Hand, a secret military society formed by members of the Serbian army in the Kingdom of Serbia, and it was formed with nationalistic aims of uniting all of the territories with significant Serb populations and making them be independent from Austria-Hungary. The assassination took place in Sarajevo. There were a group of assassins, Princip was simply one of them, that had decided that they would try to assassinate the Archduke when he visited the city. This was a special visit for Franz Ferdinand and his wife. It was to be an anniversary gift for her. She was not of royal blood, so when they were at the court at the capital of Austria-Hungary, she was never treated with the same respect that someone of royal blood would have been. But in the regions, the provinces controlled by Austria-Hungary, she would be treated like royalty. And so Franz Ferdinand wanted to do that for her. And so it was their anniversary. They were going to make this trip together. Now, their route that they were going to take through the city was publicized, so the assassins knew where they were going to be, and they were set up at different locations along that route in the hopes that at least one of them would be successful. And everything went wrong in terms for the assassins. They did damage one of the vehicles in the possession, and they injured some people that were riding there, and they're going to be taken off to the hospital, but nothing happened to the Archduke. Well, one of them, and the assassins basically gave up. One of them, Gavrilo, decided, to go into a delicatessen and get hungry because, hey, and get a sandwich because, hey, he was hungry. And so he was coming out of the delicatessen when right in front of him was the car carrying the Archduke and his wife. The driver had gotten lost trying to get to the hospital because the Archduke wanted to go and visit the people that had been injured, and so they had stopped to kind of get their bearings and figure out the way to go, because this was within the days before GPS, so they were stopped to do that. And Gavrilo walked out, and this opportunity, as far as he was concerned, was right there in front of him, and that is when he shot and killed the Archduke and his wife. Princip was suffering from tuberculosis. He knew he didn't have all that much longer to live, and so he had been a perfect candidate for the Black Hand to recruit to be an assassin, because he wasn't going to have a long life anyway. This assassination will trigger World War I. And so I want you to think about that. One guy standing on a street corner after he went inside to get a sandwich shoots and kills two people, and this is going to set in motion a war that is going to engulf most of the world. 4 empires are going to be destroyed. Millions of people will die. The influenza epidemic will start towards the end of the war, and 25 million more people will die, all because of the actions of one guy in one city standing on one street corner with one gun who shoots 2 people. So never think that one person can't change history, because one person can change history either for good or for bad. Well, the Austria-Hungarian government used the assassination as an excuse to deal with the Serbian question, what they considered to be the Serbian question. On July 23, 1914, an ultimatum was sent to Serbia with demands so extreme that it was rejected. The Serbians, relying on support from Russia, instead ordered mobilization. In response to this, Austria-Hungary issued a declaration of war on July 28th. Initially, Russia ordered partial mobilization directed at the Austrian frontier. On July 31st, after the Russian General Staff informed the Tsar or the King that partial mobilization was logistically impossible, a full mobilization was ordered. The German plan of attack, which relied on a quick strike against France, could not afford to allow the Russians to mobilize without launching an attack. Thus, the Germans declared war against Russia on August 1st and on France 2 days later. Next, Germany violated Belgium's neutrality by the German advance through it to try to get to France, and this brought the British Empire into the war. With this, 5 of the 6 European powers were now involved in the largest continental European conflict since the Napoleonic Wars. Now, they had worked to keep that from happening. They had signed treaties of alliance with one another in the hopes that that would prevent a major war from breaking out. Instead, what it does is that it ties them all together so that when one country does declare war on another, the allies of each side of each of those two countries are going to be brought into the conflict as well. And so it's like a domino effect that happens. Germany is allied with Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. Serbia reaches out to Russia because there's a large Serb population there. Russia starts to mobilize. Germany, wanting to go after France, can't leave Russia to get to full mobilization because Russia might come after them. So they declare war on Russia. The easiest way to get to France is to go through Belgium. Belgium has a treaty of alliance with England. So when Belgium is invaded, Great Britain comes into the war and declares war against Germany, and then you've got a major world war. So it's a mess. The Entente powers led by France, Russia, the United Kingdom or England and its colonies, and later Italy from 1915 on, and the United States from 1917 on, will defeat the Central Powers led by the Austro-Hungarian, German, and Ottoman or Turkish empires. Russia withdrew from the war after the revolution in 1917. Russia was a very backward nation, really, at this point in time. Their railroads were antiquated. The military had not modernized the way other European nations had. The economy was not in great shape when the war starts, and the war is going to make the situation even worse. When they start having the numbers of men dying, those start being reported. It's going to become a chaotic situation in Russia, and that's ultimately going to lead to revolution. The Tsar will abdicate, and then he and his family are going to be shot and killed, and then eventually you're going to have the communist revolution, and then of course that is going to ultimately affect world history for decades. So this was another part of this one guy standing on one street corner shooting 2 people that changes the world. The fighting that took place along the Western Front occurred along a system of trenches, breastworks, and fortifications separated by an area known as No Man's Land. These fortifications stretched 475 miles. The war caused the disintegration of 4 empires: the Austro-Hungarian, German, Ottoman, and Russian. Germany lost its colonial empire, and states such as Czechoslovakia, Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Yugoslavia gained independence. The cost of waging the war set the stage for the breakup of the British Empire as well, and left France devastated for more than a generation. It allowed the U.S. to become the world's leading creditor and industrial power, and toward the end of the war, as I said, a worldwide influenza epidemic broke out that killed over 25 million people. It was the first war to use airplanes, tanks, long-range artillery, submarines, and poison gas. It left at least 7 million men permanently disabled. The war left a legacy of bitterness that contributed to World War II 22 years later. One of the men fighting in Germany who is going to feel betrayed by Germany's surrender is going to be a man named Adolf Hitler, and you will hear more about him in the next couple of weeks. So that's just one example of this legacy of bitterness that comes out of this war. In the next lecture, I will talk about the United States' role in this war.